It started on my first night shift at St. Alden's Hospital, a place I thought was just another job. The fluorescent lights hummed quietly as I walked down the deserted hallways, carting my medical bag, trying to ignore the uneasy feeling crawling up my spine. Everyone warned me about the night shift, the loneliness, the fatigue, but no one mentioned the shadows. Not the ones you see in the dark corners of the rooms, but the ones that feel alive. The first night was normal enough, quiet, too quiet. Patients sleeping, monitors beeping in rhythm, nurses chatting softly at the nurses' station. But then I noticed at room 312. The door was slightly ajar, the lights inside flickering. Nobody was assigned there, and the patient chart was missing. I shrugged it off. Hospitals have glitches, right? At exactly 2:13 a.m., I passed by that room again. I could swear I heard whispering, soft enough to be mistaken for the hum of the ventilation. But when I leaned closer, the words became clearer. "Do not enter. Do not look." My stomach knotted. I laughed nervously, telling myself it was exhaustion, my mind playing tricks. By the third night, the whispers were louder. Not just in room 312, but down the main hallway, behind closed doors, even over the intercom, though no one else seemed to hear them. I began seeing shadows move independently, not following the shape of any person. One stood at the end of the hallway, faceless, tall, just watching. My heart raced every time I walked by it. I confided in Mark, a senior nurse who had been working nights for years. "You see them too?" I whispered, leaning against the wall, careful not to draw attention. Mark's eyes widened, and he nodded, his face pale. "They're not real, but they are. The hospital, it's old, built on things best left alone. Some nights, the shadows, they choose you." I laughed nervously, trying to mask the fear rising in my chest. "Choose me for what?" "For whatever they want." "They collect," Mark said, his voice dropping to a terrified whisper. "People disappear here, night shift workers mostly. No one knows where. We just never speak about it." That night, I stayed late, determined to confront room 312. My hands trembled as I pushed the door open. The room was empty, yet I felt the air shift, heavy and cold. A whisper came again. "You shouldn't be here." I froze. Then I saw a faceless figure standing in the corner, taller than any human should be, shadows stretching from it like long fingers. I screamed, stumbling backward. My flashlight flickered and died. When I turned on my phone's light, the figure was gone, but the message remained, etched into the wall. "We see you, always." Mark and I tried to investigate, but the hospital staff were strange, avoidant. Some smiled unnaturally, others refused to answer questions. I discovered that every night shift worker who had vanished was last seen near room 312. No one spoke about them, and hospital records seemed to vanish along with the people. One night I stayed past midnight, determined to document it. I heard footsteps, whispers, the faint sound of breathing when no one else was around. Then I saw shadows crawling along the walls, forming distorted faces of people I recognized, some long dead. They screamed silently at me, mouthless cries, eyes wide with terror. "Ali!" Mark's voice echoed behind me. I spun around. He looked different. Hollow eyes, his face pale, lips trembling. "You need to leave. Now." I wanted to, but my curiosity overpowered my fear. I followed the shadows to the old wing of the hospital, abandoned rooms stacked with old equipment. There, I found a journal page after page filled with frantic writing, scribbled by someone trapped in the same nightmare I was now living. He waits. The night. It never ends. Shadows follow. Do not trust the faceless. If you see him, run. Run, and pray you survive. Suddenly, a cold hand gripped my shoulder. I spun, but no one was there. A shadow stretched across the hallway, morphing into a shape I recognized. Mark, but he wasn't alive. His eyes hollow, whispering. "He takes and collects. Don't stay." I ran, barely making it back to the main hall. The doors behind me slammed shut, the lights flickering violently. The whispers turned into a cacophony of screams. Shadows lunged, stretching, grasping for me. I stumbled into a supply room, barricading myself, panting, soaked in sweat. My phone vibrated. A single message. You belong to the night now. Weeks passed. I tried to escape, tried to report what happened. No one believed me. Every call ended in static. Every time I left my apartment, shadows seemed closer, waiting. And I began to notice something terrifying: figures moving in my peripheral vision, always out of focus, always faceless. One night, desperate, I returned to the hospital, convinced I could confront this force. The hallways twisted impossibly, doors leading nowhere, shadows forming walls. And there he was, the faceless man, taller, darker, more terrifying than ever. He didn't move, but I could feel him observing every heartbeat. I noticed the shadows weren't random. They were trapped souls, night shift workers who had vanished. Mark, Mrs. Parker, countless others. They whispered in unison, "Help him, help him." I don't know how. I screamed, tears streaming. The faceless man raised a hand. Shadows surged toward me. I grabbed a rusted scalpel from a forgotten operating table and slashed through the shadows. Faces screamed, twisted, and faded. But he remained, patient, watching, waiting. Finally, I discovered the basement, hidden behind a wall of crates. Down there on an old operating table, I saw Mark again. Alive but frozen in terror, whispering, "You can't escape." The faceless man approached, towering, silent. I backed away into the maintenance tunnels, the whispers echoing, growing louder. Outside, sunlight finally broke through. I ran until I couldn't anymore, collapsing at the edge of town, gasping. But safety was an illusion. That night, through my window, I saw him, faceless, patient, waiting. Now I record this. I warn anyone working the night shift: shadows are patient, they are silent, and some never let go. Don't look too closely, don't answer the whispers. And never enter room 312, because he's still there, waiting, always waiting. And if you hear whispers in the dead of night, don't turn around.